And thousands of DUI cases could be in jeopardy these days. That after a shocking report about Colorado's state crime lab.
And that report accuses the supervisor at the lab of being biased in favor of prosecutors. It also says lab workers don't feel they are properly trained. Target 13's Lindsay Watts is investigating the impact from this report. Lindsay.
Heather and Eric, district attorneys across the state were notified about this internal audit late Friday. Now they're trying to figure out what it means for thousands of cases. For more than a decade, this woman supervised the state's toxicology lab. An internal investigation of that lab says Cynthia Burbach was biased. 8 employees agreed. She wanted DUI defendants convicted.
This is significant for all Coloradans, regardless of whether they've been charged with a criminal case or not, because it goes to the fundamental fairness of our criminal justice system.
DUI attorney and former prosecutor Tim Bussey says clearly a laboratory shouldn't be taking sides.
It's just simple science.
The report also says employees admit they weren't trained properly to do testing or testify in court.
We immediately assessed everybody's training and competency, so now everybody is either trained or on the process of getting trained.
The report was completed in March, but only released 3 days ago. Burbach wasn't fired.
We removed that supervisor from any testimony in court, so there would be no future concerns about that person.
Why was she able to stay on as a state employee?
Because we had to handle the allegations by removing the bias. And remember, I can't make a decision about bias. These are subjective concerns or allegations.
Burbach retired at the end of May. Lindsay Watts, KRDO News Channel 13. And Colorado Springs police no longer use the state lab for its DUI blood tests. The El Paso County Sheriff's Office does. It says it has no plans to change that. In a statement today, the Sheriff's Office says it is confident in the integrity of the state lab. Reporting live, Lindsay Watts, back to you.
Outrage tonight after allegations of a cover-up at Colorado's crime laboratory. An internal review by the Department of Public Health reveals former lab supervisor Cynthia Burbach may have tampered with or even lied about forensic tests in court. Lies that may have been biased towards prosecutors. Channel 2's Dave Young has the latest on this developing story.
Colorado defense attorneys are calling on the governor to ask for a full-scale investigation into this matter, which first came to light 3 months ago, but is only becoming public through the Attorney General's office. It calls into question thousands of DUI convictions. The state health toxicology lab in question does everything from testing for listeria in cantaloupe to processing blood samples collected in DUI cases. An independent audit found former lab supervisor Cynthia Burbach was biased in favor of prosecutors in DUI cases. I went to Burbach's home but got no answer at the door.
We thought we had a problem. And that's why we asked for the investigation.
We obtained these documents, which found, along with the supervisor's bias, blood alcohol training and analysis is inadequate, and refrigerated blood samples were subject to tampering.
We are now looking at a scenario where thousands of cases are going to be investigated. Lots of money will be spent. Lots of convictions will be called into question.
The criminal defense bar is calling for a Justice Department investigation of the lab.
So when we ask the question, how does this impact one specific case, the question we really need to be asking is, how many cases did this affect? And if it starts there, does it move on to some other area of law?
But the health department director says changes have already been made and Burbach resigned.
We're in the process of hiring a new supervisor. So we've addressed all of those issues and we're going to continue to take them very seriously. This lab is very important to the state of Colorado.
But the report raises serious questions about long-term issues with the lab that legal analyst Dan Reck calls very troubling.
Bias and negligence and lack of supervision and lack of regulation is a huge problem for the state lab and for prosecutors.
Who may face thousands of appeals from DUI lawyers who say they complained about the lab for years. Late today, the DA's counsel said they don't believe that evidence was tampered with in this case and the DUI convictions should stand. At the Capitol, Dave Young, Channel 2 News.